Fordring is definitely in the top 10 most important characters in WoW, hands down. He is the Paladin, he defeated the Lich King and was the Ashbringer. Yet, after his defeat in Legion, his fate is still pretty much unclear. We've now gone into the afterlife, and despite passing through Bastion where Uther is, there are no signs or hints of Tyrion. So, what is going on with the Paladin Fordring? Will he appear in the Shadowlands, or is he even there in the first place? Brought to you by Gamivo.com. Make sure to click the link in the description and get Shadowlands as well as game time at discounted prices. Tyrion, despite not being relevant for years now, is actually one of the most key characters in the entire Azeroth Shadowlands connection and how that thing kinda broke. After all, it was Tyrion that with the help of the Light defeated Arthas, the Lich King, which ultimately thwarted the Jailer's plans, or at least just delayed the inevitable to happen 10 years later. Now, Tyrion died essentially at the start of Legion. The Light protected him, but it was not enough, and through torture he ultimately perished, leaving the Ashbringer to us to fight against the demons. This here is a crucial bit of information, as I'm almost certain that this happened before the Machine of Death broke. It was confirmed by Blizzard that the Arbiter malfunction in the Shadowlands occurred during Legion, and seeing that Ursoc, after the Emerald Nightmare raid, managed to reach Ardenweald, it is likely that this happened either around mid-Legion or when Argus was defeated. So I'd say that no, Tyrion did not go to the Maw or the Jailer or he's being tortured. There is an ongoing speculation that due to fell magic his soul might have been destroyed, similar to Varian, but I'd say that more than likely isn't the case, and I don't really even believe Varian was destroyed. Sure, he kinda died in a smoke or fell magic explosion, but there is no official information that this means that his soul was destroyed, most likely just his body. Now, if we go by the current Shadowlands logic, Tyrion should 100% be destined for Bastion. Uther and Tyrion are connected and are paladins on a similar level, and Uther was sent to Bastion, as we can see both in the Afterlife cinematic and in the actual game. Keep in mind though, these few realms that we're seeing in the Shadowlands are only just a few of the realms, and the Shadowlands are said to possess many that we don't know anything about. I'd say that we don't even have access to most of them, so there is a possibility that he could also be somewhere else that is not Bastion. However, I'm a strong believer of the speculation that Tyrion is not in the Shadowlands at all. I've talked about this in many videos, but let's just go over a really quick recap. Through what we can see in the Shadowlands thus far, it really doesn't seem like that is for everyone, or at least the Shadowlands version of death. This was even confirmed in a way by Blizzard, as they said that the Titans, the Titan Pantheon, has their own version of the Afterlife, and they don't really go into the Shadowlands. We also know that the demons have their own version, so I'd say it wouldn't be outrageous to say that only the forces of life are actually subject to the Shadowlands, as they are the fuel, the anima. It really makes total sense just with a quick glance at the cosmology chart, because you have life and death. They are the exact opposites, and they're kind of the yin and the yang. If we take this logic that the forces of order and the disorder have their own afterlife, I totally don't see why the light and the void also wouldn't have their own versions as well. The only Naru and void presence we had seen in the Shadowlands thus far is pretty much when they invaded and actually attacked the Shadowlands, more than likely from their own realms. So I think it is totally legit that these forces have their own versions of life after death. So how does all this cosmological speculation actually relate to Tyrion? I'd say that Tyrion actually transcended the life force and turned more towards the light, and because of that he's not destined for the Shadowlands but the Lightlands, or whatever you would really call them. It really makes perfect sense, because he wasn't just a simple paladin or a simple priest. Let's just look at a few hints that we do have. First of all, the light literally got him to shatter Frostmourne and defeat the Lich King. Then, when Legion invaded, it protected him for quite a while against pretty much the peak of demonic forces on Azeroth, and he survived for a while until he was finally broken by torture. Now, I wouldn't say the light abandoned him, but based on the dialogue of Gul'dan, it seems that the presence of the Tome of Sargeras and just the sheer concentration of Fel, that the influence of the light was completely minimized, but it was definitely still there. Why I think this is the case, that he was not abandoned, is because what happens after. Death Knights raided the Lightscope Chapel and wanted to resurrect Tyrion as the leader of the new Four Horsemen, and pretty pretty much everyone just laughed at them, saying that, yeah, good luck, Light is protecting this dude. And that is pretty much exactly what happened, as they got to the tomb and the Light just completely destroyed them and essentially killed Tyrion Mograine. They pretty much had zero power against this much light. Why I think this relates to the current theory is that Tyrion was sent to the light afterlife, not the Shadowlands, and if he was resurrected into the undead, his soul would be brought back more than likely as an undead to Azeroth, and because he's an undead, he would now be bound to the Shadowlands and the Light would lose an influential figure, so I'm thinking they made sure to protect his body at any cost. Now, many would say if that is the case that Tyrion went to the Lightlands, why is Uther in Bastion and why is Alexandros in Maldraxxus? Aren't they both paladins? Let's just break this down real quick. I'd say with Uther, it is the case that he was tainted with Frostborn, the weapon of the jailer, and that his soul was split. Now, in the case of Alexandros, it is a bit more complex, and Alexandros even wondered himself if you follow the questlines. He asked the Bastion Paragon why wasn't he destined for Bastion, and was his fate in the Light weak? Was that really the case? They figured out that the reason that he was destined for Maldraxxus was because the source of his strength was love for his family, and Bastion pretty much just wipes this out completely. And the Paragon also adds in a bit of a cheeky way that Light has no purchase power in the Shadowlands. While this makes apparent sense, I think it is also just complete BS in a way, as it is quite obvious in Bastion they pretty much just wipe out their memories and just completely brainwash these people, so I wouldn't take anything that a Paragon is saying at face value, especially as Light literally granted Anduin power right in the middle of the Maw, where even the Bastion has zero influence, so yeah, I wouldn't really say that Light has no influence in the Shadowlands. The real reason why I'd say Mograine ended up in the Shadowlands is likely because he was resurrected, tainted by undeath, and therefore bound to the Shadowlands, or maybe he just wasn't really all that important for the Naaru or whoever is the leader of the Light. However, at this point, all of this is just speculation and theories. There might still be a possibility that we see Tyrion Fordring somewhere in the Shadowlands, but these theories that I gotta say make quite a bit of sense could also be a transition in what is to come after, when we learn what the Shadowlands really are, how and why we don't really have free will, and how some of the good guys might not really be so good. Thank you for watching. Check out what characters are likely to appear in 9.1 by clicking on the screen, and also check out Donald's Academy for videos on real world history and science. See you next time.